Oh, so the sports media wants to talk about how that Ron Rivera has lost a free agency. He's been the biggest loser in free agency because he has not went out and made big splashes during his free agency. Oh, we can talk about how he has re-signed Deron Payne, but that doesn't seem to be as sexy of a move as going out and getting a huge big name quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, or convincing Tom Brady to come out of retirement for at least maybe one more year or something like that. Instead, what Ron Rivera and company has done is they went out and they've signed a decent backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. They have focused on areas of need, the offensive line being one of the biggest ones. Have went out and looked at guys for the secondary and places like that, and even defensive ends. So I think that Ron Rivera has been, again, the nature of how he has treated free agency since he has gotten here, a lot of under the radar type of moves. And moves that, quite frankly, I think have worked out pretty well for the team. You know, you consider some of the under the radar moves that he has made, that have contributed. You know, guys like J.D. McKissick, for instance, played really well for us while he was in Washington. I mean, Taylor Heineke, for instance. I mean, guys like that he picks up when we're in need and can able to come in and contribute. But I wanted to take a look at kind of our free agency tracker as of today, and specifically, I wanted to focus on the offensive line because that was the area of need that we really need to focus on, in my opinion, for our offense to really kick it into gear and to go into that second level and to really focus on the development of Sam Howell and to give him every chance to succeed. It all starts up front, and we need to build a great offensive line. Now, I don't know how great that our offensive line is going to be, but I think it may be better than what it was last year. We'll see. It started with picking up tackle Andrew Wiley from the Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we also heard that he graded out to be one of the worst, weakest links, I guess, on the team. Well, I won't say on the team, but on that offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. He allowed a lot of pressures and stuff like that. But I also hit on this a few videos ago that the style of play that Patrick Mahomes does puts a lot of pressure on this offensive line. He will scramble around, he'll hold on to the ball because he's trying to create a play out of nothing sometimes, which is going to put a lot of pressure on that offensive line. I think what you're going to see more with Sam Howell is a little bit more decisive. He's not going to be holding on to the ball as much. If he's going to see a running lane, he's going to take off after it, or he's going to get rid of the ball. I don't think he's going. You're not going to see more of a Patrick Mahomes style of quarterback. You're going to see a little bit more of a traditional style quarterback, yet a quarterback who is a scrambling type of quarterback in Sam Howell. So I think this is going to help Andrew Wiley out quite a bit. And so I think also having his experience being on a Super Bowl team, being coached by Super Bowl champion caliber coaches, I think that was definitely an upgrade. He is likely to be on that right tackle position, probably wind up moving Sam Cosmi to guard. And then if we, speaking of guards, we picked up Nick Gates. Now, Nick Gates, he played for the New York Giants, and he had a nasty leg injury, broke his fibia and tibia against us, or Washington Commanders. Well, at that time, it was a Washington football team. And he had to have like 7 surgeries just to be able to get back to an opportunity to play football again. Last year, he got back onto the field. I think he wound up playing about half of the season. And Tauta is a very tough guy. Washington's taking a chance on him. He's a hybrid guy. This is what Ron Rivera has always preached on, position flex, right? So this guy can play guard and he can play center. How often did we have issues with our centers going down? So for a guy like this to be able to move to center is very valuable to this team. So, being able to pick up Nick Gates, I think, as long as he can stay healthy and not break any more legs, he's a tough guy. Let's see how it works out. Is he going to start at center? I don't know. I mean, we re-signed Tyler Larson, and Larson plays pretty well with us at center. Of course, he would start in place of Chase Roulier, who I think we're pretty much cutting loose. So, I don't know if it's going to be Larson that starts at center, and then maybe guard winds up being Nick Gates at left guard, possibly, because, obviously we let Wes Schweitzer go to the Jets. So that might be how it works. We'll wait and see. But we also made some moves with picking up just the other day Trenton Scott from Pittsburgh. He is a guard tackle combination. Again, position flex. Someone who could play left tackle and someone who could also move in and play left guard. And I see the vision that Ron Rivera is looking at here. Charles Leno, I think, played rather solid for us. He's one of the smaller left tackles in the league, so that has probably been a big knock on Charles Leno, but for the most part, Leno has been okay for us at left tackle. You got to think, one thing that we have been treated to over the past several years is we've had Pro Bowl left tackles, and so, Chris Samuel, and then, of course, Trent Williams. And so we were spoiled with having locked down left tackles there. So you get, Charles Leno, who obviously he's a solid player, but he's probably not a Pro Bowl left tackle. But he's gonna play well for you. And so now he's got probably a little bit of competition, but also someone who could possibly start at that left guard position, maybe, or maybe he does start at left tackle. Who knows? We don't know what that combination is going to look like on that offensive line. But if we do decide to have Nick Gates at center, then it's possible you see Trenton Scott at guard and Charles Leno at left tackle. Maybe we switch it up. Maybe you have Charles Leno at guard and you put Trenton Scott at tackle. And then on the other side, to me, it's a little bit more clear. You have Sam Cosmi at guard, and then you're going to move Andrew Wiley to right tackle, and then of course you're asking, what about Norwell? And that's a good question. I think we still have Norwell, so he's going to play a part in that as well, and maybe Norwell continues to start for us at the left guard position, and maybe he gets some competition from these guys. Definitely, it looks like what we wanted to do is go out and get a lot of depth on the offensive line, which has been something we have desperately needed. And not just depth, not just warm bodies, but the type of depth that doesn't fall off when the starter gets injured. Someone who is basically 1B to come in and pick right up where 1A left off. And so I think you're going to see a higher quality offensive line, a more solid offensive line, and a lot of competition there. And that's what Ron Rivera wants. That's what Eric Bieniemy wants. He wants competition across the board, wants the best of the best there, because that's ultimately how you're going to have a better offensive front, offensive line, and better offense in general. Round out the rest of your free agency, of course. Re-signing guys like Danny Johnson. We all know about Deron Payne. Cutting loose Bobby McCain, cutting loose Cam Sims, which kind of hurt, but then again, we're pretty well stacked at wide receiver. So I was sad to see Cam Sims go. He was one of my favorites, but I wish him well in Las Vegas. Re-signing F.A. Obata, I think, was a great move for us. We also picked up Abdullah Anderson, another defensive end. So we are stacked at defensive ends, along with Chase Young. So Chase Young, he realizes this is do or die for him this year. He's got to live up to his name. And if he does not live up to his name, we already have a lot of guys that we can rotate in. And we've already seen it this past year that defensive line was stout even without him. So if Chase Young can be the Chase Young that he was in his rookie season, then it's just going to make things unfair for any offenses that try to come against this defensive line. But picking up Abdullah Anderson certainly will be good depth, along with re-signing F.A. Obata. Again, I think I mentioned we re-signed Danny Johnson. Of course, we re-signed Forrest as well, which was a no-brainer for us. We let Cole Holcomb go to Pittsburgh, but we also picked up his what I call his clone in Cody Barton, which pretty much had the same, honestly, his same stats. And I think we're not going to see much of a drop-off, hopefully, with Cody Barton. So that really rounds out our free agency so far. Now, free agency certainly is not done. We can continue try to picking guys up. But I think you're not going to see a lot more movement as far as anything spectacular. You may see Ron Rivera picking up, some more fillers here and there. But in the case of the team having to postpone signing bonuses and things like that, it's not going to be very attractive for other guys to want to come, considering the fact that, of course, Dan Snyder is wanting to put all of the signing bonuses and all that stuff onto the new owner. So you're probably not going to see a lot of big splashy type of moves, at least not right now. But there you go, folks. It looks like we've rebuilt our offensive line. That's what we've begged for. That's what we've gotten. And, of course, we still haven't even spoken about the draft yet. So let's see what happens with that. Folks, here we go. Hasn't been a very sexy free agency, but honestly, did you expect anything else from that? Free agency was not going to be this big spending thing because, we've got an outgoing, owner who, he's not going to spend a lot of money. He wants to collect as much money as possible. And then he wants to leave the town, so he wants everybody else to pick up his tab. which is why, I had thought that a good conspiracy theory was he was going to try to maybe sign. Oh shoot, my mind is going blank this morning. Lamar Jackson to this ridiculous deal, and then stick that deal to the new owner, just for a parting gift, kind of a middle finger to everybody else and to the fans and everybody else as he leaves town. He could still do it. But inadvertently, I think the fans would like it. I don't think the owner would like it too much, but I think the fans would love it. They would love to see Lamar Jackson in Washington. I'd love to see him in Washington, but I also would love to see us develop our own. And I'm really high on Sam Howell right now. I want to see what Sam Howell can do for us. I think it's about time that we develop our own quarterbacks and we stick with them and we see what happens with those guys. Let's create our own. Eric Bieniemy has said, "What about Washington?" And I agree. This video is way too long. I'm stopping it right now, folks. But if you enjoyed it, if you at least lasted halfway through, well, of course you're not going to hear this, but like this video, share it with your buddies. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this video, subscribing to this channel. Man, I need some more coffee. I'm going to take a sip. The Washington Football Maniacs, folks. I will see you in the next one. Hey, you stayed until the very end. Thank you so much. Watch another one right now.